and only the BBC in England, and they would play it. We would know when they'd play it. It would be like...
At 84 years old, Ringo Starr still smiles with the same warmth that carried him through the chaos of Beatlemania, the heartbreak of personal loss, and the weight of being part of the most legendary band in history. His voice remains calm, his spirit peaceful, and his message unchanged: peace and love. But today, fans across the world face a sad truth. The final chapter of the Beatles' living legacy is drawing closer than anyone wants to admit. Ringo has lived a life filled with music. Laughter, brotherhood, yet also scars that time cannot heal. The deaths of John Lennon and George Harrison left him without two of the closest friends he ever knew. Now, as age quietly tightens its grip, even the strongest beat begins to soften. Recent public appearances show a slower step, a quieter tone, and moments where the energy once taken for granted now arrives in gentle waves. He continues to perform, not for fame, not for glory, but because music is his heartbeat, and stopping would mean surrendering to time. Fans watch with love, pride, and sadness. Because when Ringo's voice eventually fades from our stages, the silence will feel heavy, like the end of an era the world is not ready to face. This is a tribute to the man who became the heartbeat of history, and now asks only to be remembered with peace and love. Long before the world knew the name Ringo Starr, before the screaming crowds, flashing cameras and timeless music, there was a small, fragile boy from Liverpool named Richard Starkey. His journey didn't begin with excitement or promise. It began in a hospital bed, fighting just to stay alive. Ringo's childhood was marked by sickness, not just one illness, but years of medical battles that nearly robbed the world of one of its greatest musical souls before he ever found a drumstick. At the age of 6, he was struck by severe peritonitis, a life-threatening infection that forced doctors to operate and left him in a coma. Most children his age were exploring playgrounds and discovering life. Ringo was learning to breathe again, to sit, to stand, to live. His mother, Elsie, stayed by his bedside day and night. She wasn't wealthy, she wasn't privileged, but she possessed a strength only a mother fighting for her child can understand. She believed in him when doctors doubted. She gave him love when his body couldn't give him strength. To Ringo, she was life itself. Just as he recovered, fate tested him again. Tuberculosis struck, stealing another 2 years of childhood and placing him in a sanatorium. Alone, weak, far from school and friends, Ringo had every reason to give up. But something remarkable happened instead. He found rhythm. Nurses would bring him percussion instruments to keep his spirits up, and in those lonely halls, a beat began to grow. What could have been the end became the beginning. A drummer was born not from privilege, but from pain. School slipped away from him. Academics never had a chance to shape his future. But music did. When he finally returned home, he wasn't searching for lost time. He was searching for sound. While others chased careers or stability, young Ringo chased rhythm. He joined small bands, practiced endlessly, and slowly carved his place in Liverpool's emerging music scene. Every beat carried his childhood scars. Every rhythm carried defiance against the fate that once tried to silence him. People didn't see a future legend then. They saw a small boy with limited schooling, a poor background, fragile health, and an impossible dream. But Ringo wasn't born to follow expectations. He was born to rewrite them. And though he didn't know it yet, destiny was preparing to open doors only a chosen few ever walk through. In 1962, that door opened. The Beatles, young, hungry, magnetic, needed something more than talent. They needed chemistry. They needed balance. They needed heart. And in Ringo, they found all three. His arrival completed the circle that would change music forever. Yet, behind his growing smile and growing fame, there remained a quiet truth. Life had never been easy on him. And time would someday remind him of every battle won. For now, though, the boy who once lay silent in hospital beds began drumming toward immortality. The world saw joy, but only Ringo knew the price of surviving long enough to feel it. For decades, the world has seen Ringo Starr as the cheerful, light-hearted Beatle, the drummer who smiled through chaos, who joked during interviews, who rarely showed a crack in his armor. But behind that warm grin, there has always been a quieter, more private struggle. Fame never came easy to Ringo. Even in the Beatles era, he was often treated as the underdog, the one critics underestimated, the one the press joked about, the one people assumed was just lucky to be there. And while millions loved him, that kind of public perception takes a toll. Ringo carried it with grace, but he felt it deeply. Over the years, he proved over and over again that he was more than just the drummer, releasing hit albums, touring the world, and becoming a beloved icon in his own right. But personal battles don't disappear with applause. Today, what weighs on Ringo most is not fame or criticism, but time. Time takes from everyone, even legends. He has seen friends fade away, bandmates pass on, voices he once laughed with fall silent forever. The loss of John Lennon was a wound that never fully healed. The murder shocked not only the world, but Ringo to his core. Then came the loss of George Harrison, a brother in music, in life, in history. Each goodbye carved a deeper scar. Ringo has spoken in quiet moments about how surreal it feels to be one of the last pillars of the Beatles still standing. People call it legendary, but to him, it sometimes feels lonely. The stage he once shared with three brothers in music now feels larger and emptier, but it isn't just emotional weight he carries. At 84, Ringo faces the same truth every person eventually confronts. The body slows, energy fades, and the fight to stay healthy becomes a daily mission. His once endless touring schedule now requires caution. Fans see him still performing, still spreading peace and love. But each concert is carefully planned, each appearance measured. The enthusiasm remains, but the strength doesn't come as easily as before. Ringo has always lived clean, quitting drinking decades ago, focusing on wellness, meditation, and love. Yet even with that discipline, age demands its price. Behind the scenes, his days are quieter. He spends more time reflecting, more time valuing peace than performance. He has spoken about gratitude, but also about the fragility of life. And while fans still cherish every update, every performance clip he shares, many don't realize how selective those moments are now. Ringo ensures the world sees joy, because that is who he wants to be remembered as, the Beatle who kept smiling. But in the quiet hours when the cameras are off, he is human like everyone else, a man facing the passage of time, mourning a world that once existed, and holding on to the memories that shaped him. Yet, through every hardship, one thing remains unshaken: Ringo's spirit. Even as life tests him, he continues to whisper the message he has repeated for decades: peace and love. Not because the world has always given it to him, but because he believes in giving it back. Stay tuned for part 3, where we dive deeper into the most emotional turning point in Ringo Starr's journey, the moment that forever changed the last surviving. Beatles' outlook on life and legacy. There are moments in life that permanently reshape a person. Moments that don't simply hurt, but change the way we breathe, think, and remember. For Ringo Starr, that moment came quietly, without cameras or headlines. It didn't happen on a stage, or in front of fans chanting his name. It happened in silence, in a private goodbye that shattered him in ways he rarely speaks about publicly. When George Harrison passed in 2001, the world mourned the youngest Beatle. But for Ringo, it was deeper than losing a bandmate. He lost a brother, a companion who had weathered the storms of fame beside him. And in one of the most emotional stories ever shared about the Beatles, Ringo revealed that he was rushing to see George in his final days, knowing time was running out. George, weakened by illness, looked at Ringo and asked gently, "Do you want me to come with you?" When Ringo said he needed to fly back to see his own family who was facing surgery, that simple sentence, spoken by a friend who knew he was near the end, broke Ringo's heart in a way that words can hardly capture. That moment lives inside him. It was then that he truly faced the harsh truth. No music, no fame, no awards can hold back time or shield us from heartbreak. From that day, Ringo's mission changed. The music continued, yes, but something shifted. Joy and gratitude became his armor. Peace and love became more than a slogan. It became a shield against grief, a promise to those he had lost. But even while pushing forward, the reality of being one of the last living Beatles weighs on him. Paul McCartney may still be here, but their bond is layered with decades of history, triumphs, tensions, laughter, heartbreak. They stand not just as friends, but as the final keepers of a world-changing legacy. And with every passing year, every tribute, every anniversary, Ringo feels that duty. He has expressed fear, not for himself, but for the stories, the truths, the memories only he and Paul now hold. When he looks at old photos, he sees not legends, but teenagers who just wanted to play music, who couldn't imagine how loud the world would become. And while fans often see him smiling and full of energy, those closest to him know how deeply he reflects on the past. The quiet moments are where his emotions surface, when concert lights fade and the applause disappears. Age has taken many things, but one thing it hasn't taken is his love for the people he shared that journey with. Yet here is what makes Ringo remarkable. Despite pain, loss, and the weight of history, he refuses to surrender to sadness. Instead, he honors those memories by living fully, laughing freely, and giving love generously. He chooses joy, not because life has always been kind, but because he knows how precious time truly is. Today, he stands as a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even legends face heartbreak, even icons feel fear, and even the brightest stars carry darkness behind the light. But he also stands as proof that grief can sharpen gratitude, and loss can deepen love. Ringo Starr's story is not just about music or fame. It's about endurance, humanity, and holding on to hope when the world grows quiet around you. And through every trial, he continues to whisper the same message. Be kind, value the moments, and love fiercely while you still can. Time has a way of reminding us that every chapter eventually closes, even the greatest ones in music history. And as Ringo Starr stands in the final stretch of a life lived louder than anyone could imagine, he has become a living bridge to a world many thought would last forever. The Beatles weren't just a band. They were a cultural heartbeat, a generation's voice, a miracle that changed music and shaped humanity. But miracles don't repeat themselves, and Ringo knows that perhaps better than anyone. Yet here he is, still carrying that legacy with the same grace and warmth that made millions fall in love with him. But fans who look closely can see the truth behind his optimism. There is a quiet acceptance in him, a realization that the curtain of a legendary era is slowly drawing to a close. And instead of resisting it, Ringo chooses to honor it. He has said many times that he doesn't want sadness to define the Beatles' final chapter. He doesn't want teary tributes or sorrowful goodbyes. If it were up to him, the story would end the same way it began, with laughter, music, friendship, and a spirit that lifted the world. But behind that hope lies a gentle vulnerability. He knows the time will come when fans will no longer hear his voice on stage, when peace and love videos will stop appearing, when a silence will fall over the greatest story in music history. And he thinks about that, not with fear, but with humility. He reflects on the journey, on the young boy from Liverpool who never imagined fame, who simply wanted to survive illness, find happiness, and bang on drums with friends. He lived that dream and beyond it. But life's most precious gift isn't fame. It's the love we give and receive before we go. Ringo still wakes up each day committed to spreading positivity. He meditates, he values health, he stays active, not because he is chasing youth, but because he wants to enjoy every remaining moment. He isn't trying to outrun time. He is trying to greet it with dignity, just as he has greeted the world for decades. His message today is simple, yet profound. Don't waste your life on anger, jealousy, or bitterness. Choose love. Choose kindness. Choose peace. Ringo has watched people chase success and lose themselves along the way, and he has also watched friends leave this world holding on to nothing but memories and love. That wisdom is what he offers the world now, gently, sincerely, without fanfare. In many ways, Ringo isn't just the last drummer of the most famous band in history. He is the guardian of its soul. And when he speaks about peace and love, it isn't a catchphrase. It is a final gift, a final lesson from someone who saw everything: the rise, the chaos, the heartbreak, the miracles. There will come a day when music stops, when the lights fade, when fans gather not to see him perform but to remember. And when that time arrives, the world will feel the weight of losing not just a Beatle, but the last chapter of a magic era. But until then, Ringo continues on, smiling through time's whisper, encouraging everyone to live as he tries to, gratefully, peacefully, lovingly, and maybe that is the greatest part of his legacy. Not the records sold, not the stadiums filled, not even the history books, but the love he continues to spread. A gentle reminder that life is short, memories are precious, and the world is always better when we choose kindness over everything. As Ringo always says, and forever will be remembered for, peace and love, peace and love.